The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hailey Dindial pays tribute to her father and businessman Darryl Dindial at his funeral. Hailey Dindial, 13, expressed sadness and anger towards the people who robbed and erased her father, 52-year-old Darryl Dindial. She did so during a funeral service for him at his auto supply store in Montrose on Saturday. Dindial was robbed and erased by assailants at that same location on May 5th around 7 p.m., just after closing the store. Dindial was on a video call to Hailey and her 9-year-old brother Aidan when he met his demise. The police believe the men wanted to steal cash and other items from the business place, but Dindial had already locked the doors. The assailants escaped with an undisclosed sum of money that Dindial had on his person. Hailey told the gathering of relatives, employees, and residents from the community that she never thought that day would be the last time she saw her father alive. "They stole you away from me," she said. She urged those present not to mourn her father's death. "We are not here to mourn, but to celebrate the life of my father." Hailey said her father was kind-hearted and generous to everyone he met. She also remembered him as someone full of humor and who never missed an opportunity to tease. Hailey said her father nicknamed her Picker Picker after she complained to him about how he often teased her. She told a story where he mistook the alarm on her cell phone for a phone call and told her that some boys had called her. "I will always love you, Dad," she said. Under the guidance of the officiating pundit, Aidan began to perform final rites on his father. Hailey and their mother Vina joined him. Vina ran the fingers of her right hand through her husband's hair, with Hailey and Aidan standing on either side of her. She then kissed him on his left cheek and lay her head briefly on the left side of his chest. Nephew Rishi Dindial said Darryl, or Uncle David as he was often called, was a special person. He made our lives richer and fuller. Rishi remembered Dindial for having a great sense of humor. He also remembered him as a devoted father to Hailey and Aidan. They were his inspiration. To the community, Rishi said Dindial was a good and generous businessman. The pundit recalled being a beneficiary of Dindial's kindness when his car battery died, and Dindial personally replaced it for free. He described Dindial's death at 52 and the circumstances under which he died as a tragedy. While people are right to ask what the police and even the government were doing to curb crime in TNT, the pundit had another view. As a people, are we not guilty of not doing our duty? That duty being to live an honest life as individuals and collectively as a society. He said crime is not a problem that the security forces or anyone else in authority can solve on their own. We all have to do our part. We have to lift society. He reminded the gathering that all they have is the ability to shape what today is and what tomorrow can be. Yesterday is gone. Darryl Dindial was taken to Waterloo to be cremated. Hunter's Search and Rescue Team locates 4 missing persons. 4 people reported missing over the weekend were rescued with assistance from the Hunter's Search and Rescue Team led by Captain Valence Rambarat. Rambarat said 2 more people are still missing, but his team is working closely with the TNT Police Service in those cases. Rambarat said their North team, led by Commander Shamsuddin Ayubi, found Avisha Maharaj, who was reported missing a few days ago. She was found 2 kilometers away from her home and later reunited with her mother. A teenager is now assisting the police. Also reported missing was Tishelle Morales, who was later reunited with her mother, Shervon Andrews. She later made a report at the Belmont police station. Rambarat said his team worked closely with the Marival police, who were also on the hunt for Morales. Meanwhile, the group's South team, led by Johnny Maharaj, also assisted in gathering information on missing Roger Gangaram, who was found to be incarcerated. His father, who reported him missing, was informed by the rescue team. Ramharat said he was also able to find Lisan Singh a short while after she was reported missing by the TTPS. Singh is undergoing treatment at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex in Mount Hope. Leader of the central team, Ramnath Ramcharitar, has been liaising with the police and Singh's family. Ramharat said despite their successes, his team continues to be in the field as they try to find Chrissy-Ann Khan, who is also reported missing by the TTPS. Ramharat revealed that another report of a missing woman was being pursued, but her case is currently considered classified, so details could not be shared. Calls have been made for the Hunter Search Team to be given national awards because of their contribution to assisting the police, Coast Guard, and citizens. Aba&Preach Father Robert Christo said the church is assisting the families of homicide victims. Aba&Preach Father Robert Christo said the Penal RC Church is doing what it can to help the Cujo and Lewis families through the traumatic experience of having 31-year-old Abio Cujo and her 12-year-old son Levi Lewis erased at their Lachus Road Penal home on Tuesday last week. Levi was a student of the St. Dominic's RC School. He wrote the secondary entrance assessment examination this year and was awaiting results. He had injuries to his neck but managed to walk for about 10 minutes afterwards to the home of his grandfather, Philip Harewood, 62, at Pinal Rock Road. He later died at hospital. Cujo died on the spot after receiving several wounds to her body. Her other child, a 3-year-old boy, was asleep and not harmed. After a mass on Sunday for victims of crime, Christo described the efforts to help both families as a multi-pronged holistic intervention. We want to respond in presence, peer counseling, psychosocial, psychological, maybe and of course material. Christo said members of the church are speaking with the families in person or on the phone. This is to let them know we are there for them. Christo said this is being done in a non-judgmental way. He said the Catholic Board and the Education Ministry Student Support Division are also involved, especially with helping Levi's classmates. Christo said this was not the first intervention which the Penal RC Church has done. This community has a lot of pain and we have to respond with prayer. Asked whether he was aware that Cujo reached out on social media for help, saying she was a victim of domestic violence, Christo said he was not aware. On April 23, Cujo posted in a domestic violence awareness group on Facebook that she had been beaten for 8 years in her current relationship. We are living house to house and police staying away from my home. Any advice or help, please? She wrote. Christo said members of the Cujo and Lewis families had attended the Mass. They were not identified during the Mass. A parishioner, who declined to give her name, said they were sitting in different parts of the church and did not want attention to be drawn to them. During the Mass, Christo disagreed with U.S. singers Tina Turner's 1984 hit song, What's Love Got to Do With It? He said love has everything to do with it. God is love and love is God. Christo could not understand 2-year-old Kimani Francis's death. He was found dead in a tributary of the Guapo River almost a mile away from his Chekchir village home on Tuesday last week. Look what happened to that little boy in the sea of murky water. Who is taking care of our children? Christo made passing reference to Kushana Mohammed, 24, who was to death by her 40-year-old boyfriend at her Labrere village, Guayagare home on May 11. How could people be in their necks? He said it was not enough for people to blame government, the church, or any other entity about crime in TNT. We have to blame ourselves, the man in the mirror, he said. Man erased, police and suspect injured in San Juan confrontation. Between suspects and the police ended in one man dying and two others, one a police officer, being wounded. The deceased was identified as Kendall Paul of Mirage Street, El Socorro, San Juan. The two wounded men were identified as 32-year-old Kevin Henry, also of Mirage Street, El Socorro, San Juan, and P.C. Cador of the Northeastern Division Crime Patrol Unit. A police report said that officers of the Northeastern Division Crime Patrol Unit, including P.C. Cador and P.C. Constantine, were on patrol when they got information that led them to Boundary Road. P.C. Constantine saw a black Nissan Tida driving south on Boundary Road, and the officers intercepted the vehicle. Upon exiting the police car and approaching the Tida, P.C. Cador saw when Paul pulled out a firearm and opened fire on him. He was hit in the right hand. P.C. Constantine then exited the police car and opened fire on both occupants, wounding both of them. The three wounded men were taken to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, where Paul succumbed to his injuries. Henry was treated and is said to be in stable condition. P.C. Cador was treated and released. Investigators recovered a black Beretta pistol from the scene. Telecommunications manager dies in traffic accident in Wallerfield. A 43-year-old man is dead after a fatal accident in Wallerfield early on Sunday morning. He has been identified as Brendan George of La Plata Gardens, Valencia. Police said George was driving a black Hyundai Creta along Antigua Road at about 2:30 a.m. when he lost control of the vehicle. First responders went to the scene where they found the vehicle overturned on its hood. The first responders found George's body pinned under the vehicle shortly after. He was declared dead and his body removed by Armstrong Funeral Home. An autopsy at the Forensic Science Center in St. James is expected to be done. Suspect soldier in double homicide released from custody pending further investigation. A soldier who surrendered to police in connection with the double homicides of Abio Cujo and her 12-year-old son Levi Lewis has been released from police custody. Police sources said yesterday that following instructions from the Director of Public Prosecutions, a 35-year-old soldier was released around 3:15 p.m. pending further investigations. Cujo, 30, a pig farmer, suffered multiple injuries to her arms and chest, while Levi was wounded in the neck before 2 a.m. last Tuesday. Cujo's 3-year-old baby was not injured, and the front door was broken, police said. Levi walked a distance away to a relative's home before he collapsed and died. Police confirmed Cujo made several domestic violence reports against a male relative after her hand was broken in an alleged domestic dispute. She applied for a protection order on April 25, which was subsequently granted by the court. That same day, she took to social media saying she had been abused for 8 years. Meanwhile, hours before the soldier was freed, a special mass was held in honor of Cujo, her son, and other victims of the St. Dominic's RC Church in Pinal, where Father Robert Christo said the church is doing what it can to provide psychosocial assistance to people in the community as it seeks to strengthen families. Father Christo said although Cujo lived nearby, he never knew she was a victim of domestic violence before the homicide. I don't have a clue what happened there. I just knew her as someone journeying with the church, and I don't know the particular details. He said there were families in the area who have been challenged during the pandemic. We want to respond in presence, in peer counseling, psychosocial, psychological, maybe, and of course, material. We're just trying to find the best holistic approach to enter in a non-judgmental way. The first stage is really a presence, he said. He said the role of the church is beyond the pew. We believe that we have to move from the pew to the pavement. We have had migrants, kidnapping, and death. We had a migrant who died in the floodwaters. This community has a lot of pain, and it's just part of Christian living that we have to respond with love and a holistic approach, not only with prayer, Father Christo said. He said the church has also been doing a lot of grief management. People, especially during COVID, never got an opportunity to get closure. We're doing that kind of ministry. We do grief management in terms of bringing the picture, lighting the candle, offering the Mass, giving to the poor, he added. He said the team of peer counselors has been speaking to people in the La Chus Road community where Cujo and her son were erased, as well as at St. Dominic's RC School where her son attended. He said the team of peer counselors has been speaking to people in the La Chus Road community where Cujo and her son were erased, as well as at the St. Dominic's RC School where he attended. Sending a message to the population, Father Christo called for a focus on building their families. I just want to tell people that it starts in the family. The family is the first church, the domestic church. A child learns what they see. If we get family life good, it will come to the church. It will come to the nation. I believe the root is family life and to make our families holy, surrendering to the will of God, he said. He said people must also help one another as they build their families and their communities.